and I'd been able to have been sat in Ronnie's that night, because I think that would have been one of the greatest bits of jazz education you could ever have had. So today is the 300th vlog, and there's so many things to do for a 300th vlog. First of all, I want to celebrate the other 300 vlogs that have gone beforehand. I stood almost in this spot in April 2016, before a whole load of stuff happened in the world and in my life, and announced that I was going to start vlogging. And here we are 299 episodes later. I've hopefully learned a lot more about video editing and about vlogging, about how to communicate better with you guys down the camera. I've met so many amazing, interesting people online, kind of through Q&A, got to know people through social media. I've got to watch other people's vlogs and be inspired by them and learn how to do this thing without ever sitting down to read a how-to manual. I've understood the importance of YouTube as a social network, the importance of growing networks, the importance of uploading as often as you can, about creating my own original content, about trying to spread a message of integrity, of inspiration and imagination. That's kind of all those things that I'm trying to do within my YouTube video. And it's kind of fitting that today on the 300th vlog I talk about one of the most interesting, one of the most innovative, one of the most imaginative saxophone players to ever pick up the horn, and a guy with immense integrity. That is Walter Theodore Rollins, or as we know him better, Sonny Rollins. Now, a few of you on Twitter have asked me about your particular favourite saxophone player. They ain't gonna make it probably into these last four. Sonny has to be on this list, and this is why. Sonny was born on the 7th of September 1930, and I did a special birthday celebration playlist and talk about Sonny back in September. It only feels like yesterday to a certain extent. I can't believe now it's over 3 months ago. I only became aware of Sonny Rollins in my late teens. I had a musical poverty, a saxophone poverty as it were. Back then there was no YouTube, no Amazon. I've said this in some of the other vlogs. So I was aware of Sonny Rollins through my teachers, through seeing some pictures, but I hadn't really heard any of his playing. I'd heard a couple of things on Dinner Jazz with Helen Mayhew that was on Jazz FM, but never really sort of managed to get hold of any CDs. It's kind of like all John Coltrane really, a little bit of Charlie Parker, a little bit of Joe Henderson, and of course a bit of Stan Getz, because my teacher Ray Wilkes was major on Stan Getz. Sonny started on the piano first of all, then the alto saxophone, and then finally onto the tenor saxophone. He badgered his mother to get him a saxophone. He says he thought his mum got him the saxophone to try and keep him out of trouble. Unbeknownst to his mum, you know, the saxophone could cause a lot of trouble. Sonny was very much a child prodigy. I mean, he was out playing with people like Bud Powell when he was only 18. He graduated from high school, went on to play with Miles Davis. However, in 1950, Sonny was arrested for armed robbery and spent a couple of years in jail. Sonny got out in 1952 and then went on this prolific recording and soul, you know, kind of, it was just the hottest thing on the New York jazz scene at that time. I mean, he wrote Oleo, Ergin, Doxy, age 24. I mean, that's just incredible output. When I saw that today, I was putting this sort of thing together, I thought, at 24, he wrote and recorded some of the greatest hard bop jazz compositions going around. I mean, Sonny really was incredible. Miles Davis said he was just head and shoulders above everybody else. There's this famous recording, of course, of him playing Tenor Madness with John Coltrane, and Miles says, you know, Sonny set Train's ass on fire that night. He really just I don't think he blows Coltrane away. I think Coltrane is there, but you know, in terms of inventiveness and everything else, like Sonny's output was just incredible. In 1956, he records Saxophone Colossus, one of the greatest saxophone albums of all time, one of the greatest jazz albums of all time. He's 26 and he's recording stuff like this. In 1957, he brings out Way Out West, this pianoless trio. There was an interview I shared on the Cambridge Saxophone page last week. Fantastic interview with Sonny. Head over to the Facebook page and have a read of it. But he sort of says, the interviewer asked him, you know, why did you go for this pianoless trio? And he's like, oh man, you're going to get me in trouble now because, you know, all these piano players are going to really hate me. And he said for the reasons, you know, I know, and I was inspired by Sonny, you know, you just have as a horn player a lot more freedom when you ditch the piano player. But you have to restrict your repertoire because some songs just don't work in that pianoless trio format, but you do get a lot more freedom. You're not governed as much by the piano player. I find that I'm becoming more and more pickier with which piano players I use because they can restrict what I can play as a saxophone player. In 1959, Sonny took the first of his sabbaticals, and it's the famous romantic one of heading up onto Williamsburg Bridge, which I've spoken about when I went onto Williamsburg Bridge in 1959 to 1961. Now, Sonny tries to downplay the romanticism of this. Of course, I've told you before, jazz critics, jazz writers always like to overemphasize and over-egg the story somewhat, but he definitely changed his musical approach during this period. Miles said it was because of Coltrane. He reckoned that Coltrane had just gone so far on the saxophone that Sonny started copying Coltrane, and Miles said that Sonny should have just stayed doing what Sonny did. I don't necessarily buy into that as much. He definitely was changing his sound, and throughout that kind of after the bridge period, the album The Bridge, what he does after that is definitely more experimental, not going as far out as Coltrane does, but definitely a different style that he's worked on. Now, Sonny says the only reason he went out on the bridge was that he needed to practice a lot, and he couldn't do it in his apartment in New York because it was so squeezed in and his neighbours had just had a baby and he didn't want to subject them to playing his horn all day. There is, and I'll link to the petition below, there is a petition out at the moment to rename the Williamsburg Bridge the Sonny Rollins Bridge. I think that would be amazing. I really, really do. In '69, Sonny takes another sabbatical. This time it heads off to the Caribbean to sort of get back to his parents' roots. His parents from the US Virgin Islands. His mother used to sing the melody, St. Thomas. Boo ba 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 doo ba dee da, boo ba dee da. Used to sing that to Sonny. And for me, that is the unique selling point of Sonny Rollins is his endless melodic improvisation, his way of just finding melodies from everywhere. And I've shared this again before with what Branford told me, is that Sonny told him this, that when he was growing up, Sonny couldn't afford a record player, he just had the radio one, and what he had to do was pick out those tunes, pick out the melodies that he heard off the radio because they were the songs he really liked. There was no sheet music to buy, there was no records to transcribe. He should try and so he picked up a lot of things by ear and got a great sense of it's just a great sense of music, and he's got an amazing sense of time as well. An amazing way of developing melodies. The only mistake I can label at him is he once had a guy playing bagpipes, and I just don't buy bagpipes in jazz. We found these tapes in England of Rollins playing at Ronnie Scott's that was on the BBC, and the guy playing bagpipes doesn't do it for me, but some of Sonny's playing on that, I remember watching it and going, I wish I was 15, 20 years older and I'd been able to have been sat in Ronnie's that night, because I think that would have been one of the greatest bits of jazz education you could ever have, was listening to Sonny just spieling melody after melody after melody and developing and developing and developing it. It must have been some kind of epic experience. I hope I get to meet him one day, because I just want to say thank you, Sonny. Thank you for just playing with such imagination, so much integrity. And my phone's ringing. Hello? It is, yeah. Fine, I'd give him money or book him rehearsal time in a church hall or a nearby, or go out on the bridge like Sonny Rollins used to do or something, but I've tried them and I don't like them. Here they are. So there you go, 300 episodes of Dan's vlog. Thank you for sticking with it. Welcome if you just joined us, and I hope you'll stick around for the next 100 or however many we do. I'll see you tomorrow with our 22nd saxophone player of our saxophone advent calendar. Well worth checking out. I look forward to speaking to you then. Take care now, see you tomorrow.